Hey guys, my name is Soraya, and I am doing another Living with Nystagmus video. Um, the last one I think was an update, and it was like 4 years ago, and it went down really well. I got a bunch of hits, so I thought I would respond to all the people who still message me asking me how I'm doing and give an update. So basically, the last time that I made a video, I was in university, and um, although it was a good time mostly because of the people I was living with, I just felt that academically I wasn't in the space that I needed to be to excel, especially with the tuition fees going up and everything. And I decided to drop out and go traveling. I took the chance to go to China and work as a nanny, mostly because I've always loved Chinese culture, and it was something that I'd always wanted to do, especially to try and learn Mandarin and everything. So I flew over and I stayed with a family, and I learned Mandarin, which was kind of a struggle because if you have nystagmus, you know that the characters and everything, because there's so many lines, it can be hard to decipher, but I made it work. And I managed to get my first article published there. I've always liked to write and everything, but it was the first time that I'd submitted it to anything, and it basically blew up. It was on Reddit front page, and um, it went viral in China. I was on the news in Hong Kong. I even got my cute animation, my own animation of myself, which was kind of crazy. But basically, the attention and everything made I kind of had to leave, and I moved to Las Vegas first of all for a couple of months to be with someone who I was dating at the time, and then I moved to Mexico, which is kind of crazy. I moved to Oaxaca, which is kind of a dangerous area, but it was an amazing time, and had some real highs and some real lows. And basically, I'm telling you all this not because I think you'll be interested in that kind of thing and travel and whatnot, but because when I've been lurking on the forums for people with nystagmus and their parents, it kind of concerns me at the level of which they're kind of putting it as a massive handicap to you living your life and to travel and everything. And aside from maybe some issues reading transport signs and everything like that, I haven't had too many issues going traveling. Maybe that's because I'm a girl and people tend to, I guess, I don't know, want to look after you a bit more, but it hasn't been that much of an issue. After Mexico, I went to stay with a friend after things kind of I kind of got a bit bored, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity, and I really wanted to get back to work and feeling productive. I went to stay with a friend for a couple of weeks before returning to England, and I thought it was amazing. It it was just the feeling of purposefulness and creativity there. So I went back to England to try and get a visa sorted out, and I went to work for the best part of a year while everything was being sorted out. And while I was there, I was able to actually talk to someone about my nystagmus, and I found out, luckily, that in my hometown they were doing a research study on people with nystagmus. So I volunteered and I went in. They did a genetic test on my saliva, and they also did a couple of scans of the back of my eyes, and it came out that I actually have albinism. Oculocutaneous albinism, I think it's called. Let me have a reference. Yeah, oculocutaneous albinism, which is kind of contrary to what most people think albino is. Most people think it's like a kind of complete lack of pigment, which for some people it is, but for me it was just to a marginal degree. It kind of made sense because my mother was very, very dark. She's black, and my father is Middle Eastern. So, and I have green eyes, I have very light skin, and I have reddish brown hair, which is kind of different to everyone else in my family. The same as my sister, she's kind of a dirty blonde colour, and she has blue eyes. and so it was always kind of unusual, and I thought it was just kind of a throwback to a kind of Russian influence in my father's side of the family, but it's most likely because I have a form of albinism, and it's kind of taken its toll on my eyes as well as everything else. I don't have the pigment in the back of my eyes that helps most people see. So that made a lot of sense, and it was good to get a diagnosis and, be more wary of wearing suntan lotion and, keeping up with SPF on my face and everything like that, because I knew I was more at risk of certain things. And it basically opened up options I hadn't thought about, because I don't tend to think about nystagmus a lot in my day-to-day life. It will come up if I'm struggling to read something on TV, or struggling to read text that I can't enlarge, or getting public transport, that type of thing, and possibly meeting new people, but that doesn't tend to happen every day in my life. So they basically laid out the options for me. They have experimented with heavy contact lenses that you can use to stop the movement, and that did help, but the problem that I found was they were just so uncomfortable and so thick that I could feel them every time I was blinking. So even though I still use them sometimes, it's probably not ideal. The other option was pregabalin, which is a seizure medication for people with epilepsy and such. And I think that's something that my sister tried, but it seemed to have had a few adverse effects that I'm really not willing to risk, like weight gain and short-term memory loss, and I think past a certain level, addiction. And for me, I've always kind of tried to decrease, any kind of medication in my life if I don't need it. I don't think it's good to mess around with your body too much if there's nothing wrong. So it's something I'm considering, but I don't think I'll follow through with. They also offered me surgery, and this is, to me, it's kind of controversial, because I see so many people jumping at the chance to get their baby surgery, especially in America, and to me, I think it's better to let the child make that decision on their own. I mean, nystagmus isn't necessarily completely debilitating to your sight. There's a huge range of acuity within sufferers, and I think the effect that the extent to which it might be detrimental to your life is kind of exaggerated. I mean, I've read threads where people have been afraid to leave the house, and that's absurd to me. I mean, I don't have very good eyesight, but, you've got to have a spirit of adventure and a kind of an attitude that lets you overcome these kinds of things. I mean, looking back now, I wish I'd had more support in school. I think I'd be a lot further academically than I am now. I mean, I'm a smart chick, so I wish I'd had more support. People were using different colours on the blackboard, other than red and green and blue. That would have been really effective, and I wish someone had kind of made the case for me. So I think there are other things that parents can do to be proactive in helping their kids. So let me just refer. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a lot to think about, and I'm kind of considering my long-term prospects, what I'd like to do for a career now that I'm older, and, fixing might be a good idea for me, but who knows. And I just wanted to, put the case to parents that, there's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell someone that they've got something very wrong with them, then they tend to internalize that and kind of live it. And that's what I've seen in America, more so than Britain. And my theory is that the privatization of healthcare, because things are done more for profit than for, the good of the workforce of the country, that they kind of exaggerate the need for surgery so early on. And I think that parents should think really carefully whether to go through with it or not, because it is incredibly painful, and it's not always super effective, and it can go back and correct itself back to nystagmus. So that's just something to think about. I'm now settled and living in California, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of these vlogs than I have done in the past, mostly because nystagmus is something I have to consider more now. And also, I still get messages from younger people asking about relationships and life and how I'm doing and everything. And I just want people to see that, you're not just your condition. I mean, in the last 2 years, I've become a published author. I blog for the Huffington Post. I've modeled, I've acted, and one of my friends said to me once when I was complaining about something inconsequential, you are not a tree. You're not fixed anywhere. If you live in, down the Midwest where you need to drive and you can't drive because of your nystagmus, why not get a career in software or, a creative one or something like that and move to somewhere with really good public transportation like San Francisco or LA or Portland or, Washington DC, somewhere like that where you can, fulfill your potential and not have to worry about, feeling like a massive outsider and feeling handicapped by your condition. And yeah, this is all that this video's attempt to do, is to just kind of make you see that, you're not just nystagmus. You're your own person, and you can do whatever you want with your life. You might not be able to land a plane or do something else hugely intricate that relies on, absolutely perfect sight and spatial acuity and stereo acuity, but you can do tons of other stuff that you want with your life. And as usual, you can message me with any comments or questions that you have, and I'll try my best to answer. But thank you very much for listening, and I'm going to be hopefully more present with my vlogging. So thanks for listening. Bye bye.